evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly Video for another earnings-based Thursday, 28th of October in 2021. Keeping an eye on these stocks. This is as the market closes on this Thursday, but you'll know as you watch the video what the reaction is, the post-market performance, which is still happening right now, and any trades you might have on from earnings butterflies or anything else within the earnings plays. Just out of the corner of my eye, I'll be watching Starbucks, which is right here. This is the daily chart. Over on the right is the post-market activity. And you can always look at the earnings playing, what's happening, what the report was, what the estimates, what the actual, and any guidance. We'll come to that in a moment when it gets to Amazon. But Starbucks at the moment, just as the market has closed, not much change, a little bit down, $1 or so down after earnings. That is Starbucks, but jumping right up to the next one, Apple. Apple is mostly unchanged. Again, there will be a lot of price activity, volatility, movement as the market settles down, as traders read the reports, take positions, or hedge or rehedge. And there's the Apple. There's any particular news that will come out later. Often, Apple will report its actual earnings a little bit after the bell, so we will not have that. News is not quite up right now, and of course the market, the chart, is not moving. We'll have that after this video. But we do want to highlight Amazon, because Amazon might be the key stock or the focal stock in Friday's session. Because, number one, here's the daily chart. And for a longer term, multiple months, we'll take a look at that stretching back over a year, Amazon shares have been in a trading range. We can call that a volatility box. Don might refer to that, which is just a bound, almost like a box. It is a box. And that's the high prints. That's about 3,500. This again is Amazon stock price. And the bottom is about 3,000. Midpoint, which is the fair value or the middle of the box, 3,200. And that's where the market was. The most recent times we've had movements away. So we were at the top of the box, top of the range, just shy of 3,500. That's the bigger picture. That's a swing account, swing logic. What's happening at this exact moment? Down a lot. So Amazon, if it opens up right now, it's about 3,300. So it's putting it right here, taking it down from 3,400. And we'll look at this again. You'll know this after the bell, after this video, and in Friday morning. Amazon could be down to this 3,300 level. And that will take it right here. That, once again, is the middle, or the target, or the fade point, or fair value, right about here. So we'll see if that holds on, and how that plays with any open positions, and any additional plays. Amazon will be opening down, but that's going to would most likely put pressure on the Nasdaq. And that as well, we'll take a look at it after hours, and just see this. This is how you get overnight session, or look at futures. So extended hours on the futures contract if you're looking at stocks and their earnings in thinkorswim, and that will be done here in the equities tab. So not a lot at the moment. Well, actually that. We can attribute that for the most part to Amazon and other earnings. So that is what we'll be watching as the day goes on into Friday morning. We did have the GDP report today. That was a little weaker than expected. Blame that on the Delta variant or other economic factors. Nevertheless, GDP was down the last quarter. Not down from estimates. I should say down from estimates. It was about 2%. Estimates were around 2% or 2.9. Nevertheless, markets seem to shrug that off. The other headline today could be assumed to show economic weakness, consumer confidence and the like, but you would not know that looking at the stock market, which made just about, I know, once again, splitting hairs. This is the S&P futures, just about another new all-time high. Nasdaq got it. So Nasdaq pushed itself to a new all-time high. And we can see that here on the weekly chart, taking us back to 2017, 18, all the way to now. That is a new high. The Dow mini futures did not quite make it in today's session, but again, splitting hairs. It did so 3 or so days ago. And that is a weekly chart of the Dow mini. The one thing we are watching, and it looks like Amazon, looks similar to Amazon's chart, which is the Russell. And the Russell remains in a sideways trading range. That volatility box, once again, with that high bound, I like to look at these as ranges, But the high bound is about 2,300, so 2,300 in the Russell futures, and just about the 2,100 or 2,150 as its lower bound. Midpoint, or the middle of the profile, or middle of the zone between that, about 2,250. And that's where the Russell fell from. These would be considered short-term, a few day swing trades on the short side. And if you are willing on the long side, that would be little, we call them fades. Fades from the high to the mid or the low, fades from the low back to the mid. Similar with Amazon if you want to play a stock that is that volatile. Other companies with earnings and other companies that might be in or considered in trading ranges would be Disney and McDonald's, and a lot of other stocks are actually not reaching new all-time highs. That is more of a trading range, more of a volatility box than not. And again, that's from the high back to the mid or low back to the mid, just playing mean reversion, shorting highs and buying lows. Simple, 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 easy, but not always in practice perfect. But that's the logic about mean reversion. What goes up should be shorted back to the middle, and what goes down must be longed or bought, again, back to the middle or the other side. Those, again, are range techniques or range fades, but I always highlight things that are breaking out or trending. And these things are best played from the direction of the trend. And these strong stocks are getting stronger. We'll just note a few of them, and we'll push this over here. That way I can see it a little easier and get these on the chart. So stocks making new 52-week highs with the stock market, with the S&P futures or the Nasdaq, 34 and the S&P 500 are making new 52-week highs. In some or many cases, they are all-time highs. For example, we'll look at Netflix, Merck, Intuit, ServiceNow, not a lot of other names that we might be familiar with because they tend to get in the lower scale of market cap. I like to run the scan at least every other day, sometimes every day if I can, which just gets a sense of what stocks are strong, getting stronger, or at least outperforming the broader indices or leading the indices to the upside. Some of those would be Netflix, and we'll pull this over on the daily chart here, weekly chart over here. And again, these are pulling the market up. They're actually outperforming the market, percent basis or price basis. And that is a new all-time high for Netflix. TMO, Thermo Fisher Scientific, also new highs, strong uptrend getting stronger. Merck, MRK is not making all-time highs, and that is a little more of a trading range. That's more sideways. We don't call that trending to the upside or the downside. It's just flat. Prices in that volatility box. And then Intuit, that's another example of a strong stock getting stronger. ServiceNow and the others could be listed in the mixture. Marriott Hotel, retail name. Many others in that list, in fact 34 in that list, and we don't want to look at all of them, but they are there if you wish to pause the video and look at these candidates by sector and market cap, or if you want to create your own scan and do this on your own thinkorswim platform. To me, it is load scan query and then go into public, and from public go to new yearly highs. That should be a public scan in thinkorswim, and make sure to segment that or put in scan in the S&P 500. That is the broader perspective there. A few strong stocks just fell a little bit shy of its all-time high, but so did the S&P. Microsoft is one of those. It was actually a little bit up today, up on the session by about 0.33%. But that is a new closing high. I know, splitting hairs. Closing high, not a new all-time high. But again, the logic for me, trading style that I like to use in scans and short-term swings, I like to play for 2 to 4 days, maybe a week, week and a half. And that context is what is strong gets stronger and is better played on the side of the trend. Again, short-term only. Stocks that are trending up like this tend to attract additional money flow. They're currently attracting money flow, and they do tend to get stronger. So that's the thought process on the bigger picture. But going outside of all the earnings, going outside these leading stocks and the Russell in a trading range, let's take a quick moment and look at crude oil. Crude oil is an economically sensitive commodity, which means if the economy strengthens, then crude oil should trade higher. Similarly, if the economy strengthens, the stock market should trade higher. So they tend to trade in the same direction. They are not 100% correlated, and they do not move directly together, but there's a correlation in strength in the economy, strength in the stock market, and strength in crude oil. We can even call this inflationary. Nevertheless, crude oil similarly just made a new high, not an all-time high. We have to go back to see that that was much, much, much stronger and much higher priced years ago. In fact, 10 or so years ago. And crude peaked well before this, 2007 or so, 7 and 8. Nevertheless, crude is pushing up, and it's just back to where it was. So it does seem bullish. It is bullish. It's a new 52-week high. But compare that to the equity market, which still continued to go up from the 2007 lows, 2009 lows. And that's where we are at the moment. Outside of that, gold has been quite volatile. Just take a look in the last moments here to view the bigger picture or the weekly chart of gold. And it has come down or fallen from its 2100 peak. Now trades about 1800, which is a key level. So a large picture on gold. It is more sideways, it is more choppy, and it's more of a multi-month, if not about a year, trading range. And we'll finish with the bond market, which has trended. This is TLT, and that's consistently trended up. But again, this is a multi-year, multi-decade chart or perspective of TLT, which is a bond product. So in the current, it's more trending to the downside, and that means caution in it. But again, as we look outside of earnings, TNX is the 10-year Treasury note yield. As yields go up, that tends to put a little pressure on the economy. As they go down, that is beneficiary. Yields are lower, that means interest rates are lower. That means the economy tends to benefit in general from lower interest rates and loans going out to companies, individuals, etc. As the rates go up, that tends to pull back on that lending. That again is a general broad comment, but the yields are trending and pushing up. So are equity prices at the moment, and again crude at the moment. Watch the earnings. We'll go back and see those later in tonight's session. And of course Friday, watching closely what happens with Amazon after hours. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update for October 28th, 2021.